So here's the game Dallas. I've got it set up for trying to do this solo, which I've done to try to see at other times in my life, to try to see how the mechanisms kind of interact and how the game kind of plays. Because it's not really a role-playing game, right? But it is a heavy negotiation game. And as such, I don't know that, I'm going to be able to present much of anything in it, right? Like, I can do something like diplomacy with little die rolls for negotiation, but it's much harder with this because I don't have a good feel like I do with diplomacy as to how the game would actually develop with real players. And it's always been one of my problems with this is I feel like I'm ready to give it a shot, but nobody's ever willing to play. And such is. Okay, so I'm setting up using the first of the pre-written scripts. And at least we'll get some idea of kind of how I think it's supposed to be played. First of all, as the director, I would be aware of what's going on here. And I'd read out this general player information here. The Mexican-American community in a small town near South Fork is buzzing over the rumored discovery of an authentic Spanish land claim. A lengthy court case over the document could seriously disrupt real estate transactions. JR is eager to make something of the situation. Jock is worried. Miss Ellie is even more worried about than the situation would seem to warrant. She's spent a lot of time on the phone and traveling into town. Sue Ellen, feeling generally unhappy, has been going into town to indulge in shopping sprees, and JR has cut her allowance. Bobby's been consolidating his position at Ewing Oil Company. Pam has gotten involved with the local media scene, writing a little and cultivating her contacts. Lucy has been running with a fast crowd on campus, and the university has begun a crackdown that may go hard on her if she's caught in the middle of it. Ray Krebs seems to be playing amateur Texas Ranger regarding some strange goings-on in the farthest range of the land. It's not a dull time in Dallas. Okay. So you'd read this aloud to everyone as kind of a, hey, this is what's going on. Then individual player meetings would occur with each of the players. And of course, this really sucks in terms of a time thing. If you've ever done role-playing where, like, you have these meetings with individual players, yeah, they can really cause an issue. It's necessary for the setup of this game for people to have secrets that are set in the plot. Now, some of these are spelled out. Here you have a spell out of the character and how they should operate within the game to be most effective, most of which kind of doesn't make much sense to me because, it's kind of like telling Italy, well, make sure you make buddies with England and get, all the advantages you can out of that alliance from them that you get points for and they don't, in Pax Britannica, for example. Where it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's often very, very obvious type of stuff, like you're too weak to be able to do much, so, rely on your persuasion abilities and stuff. Yeah, okay. So let me swap batteries, and then I'll get into what each of the players is given as information at the beginning. And then I'll go into some more information the director has. Again, no player would have all this information, only the director would, but I feel it's necessary to sort of present what's going on. And I have no idea how I'm going to handle negotiations and whatnot, or if. I've got the players set up in the order that they showed up here, and I'm going to probably use that. Here they're ordered in a different order. So we'll jump around as we give the explanations. So JR, you have come across an old Spanish land grant, which, however dubious, can be useful in depressing the value of many oil properties, allowing you to pick up many of these properties at bargain prices. To make your plan pay off, you must put together a formidable array of items. You must control by the end of the episode. This is your requirements for victory, right? You don't have this, you didn't win. And then beyond that, like, it's just, if you won and someone else won, you get to count victory points. So the land grant, you don't know where it is. JR has control of the Ewing Oil Company. Oh, you do know where it is, and the Spanish land grant at the beginning of the game. He has it. Bribe of the Justice Department official. You don't know where it is at all. Somebody could have it, or it could be in one of these packets, which are going to be, and as the director, I probably wouldn't explain this, but these are going to be scenes 2, 3, and 4 that as to when they come out and become available for play. The Texas Rangers, MX Nevillestone. Now the Texas Rangers are here. Nevilestone's not visible. The local press over here under Pam's control. The local police. The Senator's press conference. Local police are not visible, which feels funny, but they're just not. Senator's press conference. The Department of the Interior, again, feels like something that should be visible, not visible. And at the beginning, you control the Ewing Oil Company and the land grant. Sue Ellen, you've run up a string of bad debts during your current shopping binge, and unless you can clear them up, you're going to have big problems with JR and the rest of the family. You can clear up the problem if you control 3 of the following at the end of the episode: the local press, the local police, the First Republic Bank shares, which is a bank, not an object, and that's controlled by Bobby, Alexis Blanchard, and Esteban Cruz. And at the start of the game, you have Esteban Cruz under your control. Okay. Jock, you've heard these land grant stories and are concerned about the potential effect on Ewing Oil Company properties. To protect the company, you must control 4 of the following: Ewing Oil Company, Texas Rangers, local police. A lot of overlap with what JR wants. Going to be, but Jock doesn't know that JR wants these things, right? But they're 2 of the most powerful characters in the game, so it's kind of cool that they'd be in conflict. The Oil Trade Association, Kay Rupshorn, who's available and out in the open, and the local press. The Oil Trade Association is over here. Okay. Ellie Ewing. Now, it's kind of funny, like, this is about this land grant. That's what it's about for JR and for Jock, right? And everybody knows about the land grant. That was in the main story. But other people, like Sue Ellen, have these totally different requirements. But they may be interested in some of the same people that other, for example, the local police, which are not face up for some reason. Ellie also has her own little storyline. Years ago, you had a warm friendship and several business dealings with a young lawyer who later moved to a neighboring state and rose to political prominence. He's been elected senator. A blackmailer has gotten hold of a packet of your old letters to this man, which contain some compromising items. You never told Jacques about this involvement, and now you're very anxious to get him back. If misinterpreted, they could cause a misunderstanding with Jacques, even though you and the lawyer were never much more than close friends. To get the letters back, you or Sue Ellen or Pam must... This is powerful. Like, this is the advantage the weak characters have. They can rely on allies more. You must have the letters plus 4 of the following: FBI, Texas Rangers, local press, secret informer, and Jorge Gras. Not all of these are visible again. The secret informer is not visible. Jorge Gras is not available. Is not visible. Now it happens that he's actually on the board. Lucy has him, but she ain't going to help you. Okay, Bobby Ewing. Now, while JR is distracted, comes your chance to consolidate your position at Ewing Oil and get the company straight with various institutions. Jock will notice your efforts and maybe cut JR down a notch or 2. To accomplish this, you must control 4 of the following. Oil Trade Association, you start with it. First Republic Bank shares, you start with it. Department of the Interior, like I said, nobody knows where that is. Jorge Gras, Ewing Oil Company, local press, and MX Nevillestone. Pam, you always knew you had a talent for writing, and now you're doing some regular pieces for the local press. You've decided to develop your contacts to the point where you'll uncover some real news. To do this, you, Ellie, or Sue Ellen must control 4 of the following: local press, MX Nevillestone, secret informer, Kay Rupshorn, and Math Wu. Well, Cliff has Mafu. He's your brother. He's generally your ally, but not in this one. But you have the local press. That'll help a little bit. Lucy, the activities of you and your university friends are getting out of hand, and the roof is about to cave in. To get yourself in the clear, you, Ray, or Bobby must control 4 of the following: the Secret Informer, the Texas Rangers, the local police, Jorge Gras, and Alexis Blanchard. And at the beginning, you have Jorge Gras, but he's hidden, which means nobody can really do anything about him until, like, maybe they ask you about him. You know, hey, what's your hidden card, Lucy? Hey, Lucy! But, what are you hiding? Cliff, your sense of social justice rises with the news of the Spanish land grant. You're determined to see that the long-oppressed Mexican Americans have their due. To accomplish this, you must control 4 of the following: the land grant, Mafwu, which you have, MX Nevilstone, which you have hidden, Department of the Interior, again, missing in action, and never actually explicitly says when they should be added. So that's like entirely up to the director. I mean, I could just throw them out there if I wanted, along with the local police, which might not be a bad idea, but I chose to do differently. Trying to follow like what the rules more or less explicitly say, but I get the feeling they probably should be out. Texas Rangers, the FBI. I don't think the FBI's in the game yet. I hadn't added them, so they'll go here into turn 3. Scene 3 is where I put all the stuff that didn't say when it goes. Although honestly, I think some of the more obvious things, and I'm not so sure the FBI, like, sure, you're aware where they are and everything, but are they really involved yet? Are they in the story? I don't know. Yeah. And he starts with those. Ray Krebs. Something illegal is happening on South Fork's far range. Somebody's moving something they should not be moving. This is too interesting to pass up, but to come out with glory, you, Lucy, or Jock has to control 4 of these: Jorge Gras, Secret Informer, local press, Texas Rangers, and Stu Engel. And it doesn't say anything, but it also doesn't say you don't control anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, I put a question mark there. I'm actually going to give him Stu Engel face down. Face down, why? Couple of reasons. Ray, so first of all, this gives Ray the option. If he wants to use Stu for something, he's got to reveal him. Stu's not terribly useful, but he might be afraid to reveal him because somebody else might need him. Nobody cares. He's totally useless to everyone else. But that gives an added little option on him as to why you might not want to reveal him. Okay. And in each of the player cards, they actually give the personal victory conditions for the 3 pre-written scenes on the player cards, which is a helpful little thing if you're playing one of these. All right. Then we hit this, hey, here's a bunch of events that happen, right? And these are all programmed by scene, and kind of annoyingly so. Like, they're not put in order. Some of them relate to other things, and it's a little fucked up. But then we have specific scene information. And this is where we'd start things off and tell people, okay, the rumors about the land grant are getting particularly loud from the Mexican-American community. The establishment starts to notice, especially after Cliff Barnes, the attorney for Mafwu, begins legal proceedings for the purpose of using the land grant. He now has a copy. Yeah, well, he doesn't have anything that indicates that, but to recover a third of the real estate in the area for his clients. New characters show up: Kay Rupshorn, face up; local government and Texas Rangers, face up. Now, scene 2, it lists a few more characters to come in and items, some of which are face down. like the senator's press conference here. Now, if we look scene 2, the bribe of the Justice Department official, which I think shows up then, is showing up with a value. The senator's press conference is not listed among these things, as far as I know, and doesn't have any kind of investigation value assigned to it. They tell you, hey, go between 10 and 20, whatever. But it's again, it's not giving you enough to run it just sort of by the book if you wanted to do that and try to get an idea. So it's kind of annoying there. Also, what's not clear in the game is, hey, I want to investigate that card. You have to tell the director. Let me try to investigate it. There was something I'm trying. Oh yeah. At what point does the director tell you what the investigation value is? That's actually not spelled out in any kind of idea of how you'd want to do that in the rules. Now, obviously, there are only a couple of choices. One is you declare what the investigation value of all the face-down cards is, or some of them, and the other is you tell them when they try. But why are they picking one particular face-down card? I mean, I'm investigating some shit. I'm just wandering around in the neighborhood looking for stuff, And that's one of the problems with it's not like you're chasing something down that's specific or whatever. And it's kind of obnoxious. And we shall see that. Scene 3, when they get to new characters, they say, whatever they is left, director's option. Okay, what? I mean, do I just put the rest in, or should I have put it before? What's up? And scenes 4 and 5, 4 says nothing should be left. Whatever the director has left should be put into the game. Well, what? Didn't you just tell me? Okay, maybe that's the option part. Should be the end of the episode. Remember to allow one more negotiation phase. All right. Well, now, the characters are all trying to hide what they want, right? They don't want to give up the information of what their victory conditions are, so negotiation is a little dangerous. Now, obviously, a negotiation for something particularly powerful that's out there, with a lot of, with high values, you can probably get away trying to ask for something like that without revealing too much. But it's like, yeah. So I kind of feel like most players actually would be playing things pretty close to the vest on the first turn of the game. Now, the rules kind of say, hey, allow 5 to 15 minutes negotiation. You'll probably need more as you go later. And I think that's really the case, because I don't think players are going to reveal much. So let's pretend we got a whole bunch of people who really aren't willing to chat. All right, scene 1 we're set for, and I'm going to force JR to go first. Well, what's JR trying to do? JR wants a bunch of things. He wants the Texas Rangers. He would really like them. Well, yeah, let's coerce the Texas Rangers. They have a lot of power. Coercion is tripled in power. It's ambiguous, or the rules are actually contradictory about whether or not they get that in defense. Wow, but they're weaker than the local government. How about that? Persuading them would be a 20. What can I do? Well, my persuasion is a 20. I'm at even against them. That's a 0. Not going to be very good at that. Let's keep looking. Like, I can spend power chips for it and get them under my control. I'm not going to be able to coerce them. I'm not able to seduce them. Investigation's not going to get what I want. They have a +2 to controlling powers coercion when attempting to affect and resist. That's very powerful. I would really, really like to grab them. How much? Nobody can throw chips in to defend an uncontrolled card. So I'm going to spend all 9 of my power chips to get a 9 or more on them. I want them that much. I would get them. They get a luck check. They don't make it. So now I have the Texas Rangers. Now I'm going to alternate turns. So Jock is up next. What's Jock want to do? Jock wants, he has nothing. He wants stuff that JR has grabbed. And he has no ally in this. But Kay Rupshorn is just sitting out here, and she gives a +2 for controlling player in an attempt to affect the Texas Railroad Commission and the FBI. Am I interested in... Texas Railroad Commission isn't there. I'm not really interested in the FBI, but they're probably pretty potent. I can probably make a fair argument for grabbing them. I'm assuming Kay is female, indeed, so I could seduce her if I wanted. But Jock is not great at seducing. Oh, he's not bad. He's not bad. So 19. Oh, and here's what's missing. I need something to let me know that JR has used his own ability. Some kind of mark for that. I don't have, there's nothing in the game that comes to mark that. So I've used one ability, and I've used it with JR himself. I'm going to have to just remember that, and that's going to be painful to do. So I may grab some kind of additional marker for the 9 characters. Well, so with cards, I can turn the cards sideways or something like that to indicate. See, I've got 2 pieces of information I need with the card. No. Protecting, but I also need to keep track of what I've protected, because things I've protected take up one of my actions, right? So if Jock, say, wants the Ewing Oil Company back, he could go for it. JR could protect that. That takes one of JR's 3 actions. So I need 2 different kinds of markers that I don't have available here. Obviously, I can make things, I can grab stuff and use stuff. But again, the game just doesn't come with even the components that you need to track all the information that's going on. How many actions you've taken, whatever. Sure, like I said, there's ways of doing it. I can use dice to indicate how many actions people have taken. But to indicate which thing has done an action as well, we're getting complicated, aren't we? Okay. So I'm going to try to seduce Kay, I guess. And Jock is a 19 at seduction. Kay has a 12. That gives me a 7 off the bat. Am I better at something else? I have nothing. So I can't use any other pieces. So let's take a look. Persuasion, I'm a 19 to 12. That's a 7 as well. I could try coercing, but that doesn't actually give me what I want. Investigating doesn't actually get me what I want. So only persuasion and seduction works. Well, Jock's a horny old bastard, so he's going to try to seduce her. Am I going to throw any power chips in? Because power is the ultimate aphrodisiac, right? Sure. I can use more to support something Kay does, but I'm going to throw 2 in to get myself to a 9. Kay doesn't have much luck, so it's unlikely she'll evade it, and I get her. I'm going to have to swap batteries again, but you can see at least the mechanisms in play as I start to do things. Now, one of the big things is, what are people's secrets, and how will I find them out? I know Cliff, Lucy, and Ray have secrets, and maybe they're cards I need, but I have no way to find that out. Negotiations could tell me, but I'd have to reveal something. Like, I'd have to be like, hey, anybody got the Spanish land grant? I'm interested in that. You're not going to hear that kind of thing because you don't want to reveal your own victory conditions ever. That there's just so much that just doesn't feel like it's quite hitting the gears, and it's one of the reasons I really wanted to see it in play. Because my own impressions about it are the game just doesn't quite do it. Anyway, swap batteries. So now let's think about Pam here. All right. She, Ellie, or Sue Ellen. Local press, I got that. MX Nevillestone, no idea where and, when it's going to show up. Secret Informer, no idea. K. Rupshorn, The local press doesn't have a lot of power, but it has a lot of investigation capability, which is very valuable. Pam has some reasonable values here, actually, for a female character in this game. Mafwu, Cliff has Mafwu. Now, I could go directly after that, or I could go after Cliff. Now, I don't have a bonus. Some of these have bonuses against people. So, like Jock has a bonus against children and wife, and especially a bonus for affecting JR. So, like stealing the Texas Rangers, I could go after JR directly and tell him to give it to me. Ellie has advantages against her children and grandchildren. Grandchildren, no. Lucy is not. She is Ray's daughter secretly, but she's not, if I recall correctly, she's not the child of any of the characters in this. I was saying she's like Ellie's kid. No, there was someone else. There was some other female. There was a female Ewing who's not in the picture anymore, or something like that. She's like the niece to JR and Bobby. But she is the granddaughter of Ellie, which may or may not be spelled out anywhere. First Ewing grandchild. I don't think they give her family history back there, and I'm not sure it was all that available, all that known in the show. Certainly, not all of it was known at the point that this came out. What are we looking for here? And I don't think I'm going to play more than a little bit of this. I want to give you some flavor of what the mechanisms of the game are and why I don't think it works at heart. So we may actually just cut this very short. Okay, so Mafwu. I'm curious as to what JR has going on here. Now, JR has an investigation defense of 24. That's not something I can easily bust through. +1 to any attempt to affect by controlling player. That's powerful. I can use the local press to try to grab something else. Local government. What's my capability of getting that? Well, I have a lot of persuasion. I can't seduce them, unfortunately. 24. That would give me a 10 to grabbing the local government. Is it worth just grabbing that? not make any enemies right away. Maybe find something out. Or do I want to use my investigative powers? Well, using investigation against JR is pretty damn hard. Using investigation against others, though, might not be so bad. So let's take a look at who else we could investigate. Who's shitty? Sue Ellen is really easy to investigate, but you're not going to get much out of her. Lucy is hard. Ray is relatively easy comparatively, but I'd still only have a 4 against that. Whereas I have a 10 to persuade the local government. I'm just going to go for the local government. Grab cards. Remember, it's Illuminati, man. I mean, this is a powerful card. Maybe I can trade it away. Maybe somebody will offer me a deal. I get it. It has no luck. There it is. We get down to Cliff. What's Cliff up to? Cliff needs... He wants the local press. He wants the Texas Rangers. There's no crimes, that I know about to attack here. I may not want to reveal this guy, even though he's powerful. I have good investigation capability. Any special abilities? None. What do I want to do? Most of my cards are not visible. Let's pick on Ray, see what we can find out. So I'm going to investigate Ray. Or do I want to, I could coerce somebody with Mafu. I got a +1 for coercion. I could investigate Ray. Let's try that. Alright, so I have a 24 investigation. Ray has a shitty 17 defense, which means I have 7 points. I'm not going to throw anything in. I just want him to tell me what he's got. Ray makes his luck check at 4, and he succeeds. So Cliff has used up his ability and not gotten anything from it. Puts me on Bobby. Bobby wants all kinds of powerful, valuable stuff. Bobby is good at persuading people, good at investigating. My special abilities. Now this is weird. Oh, no, Jock gets a bonus defending these. First Republic, controlling player gets +1, attempt to affect or resist local government. Do I care about local government? No. I need 4 of a big pile of stuff. And I don't know what's going on, I could investigate JR, and I would have a 0 on him. I could spend all my power and get a 5. He doesn't have any power. But JR could protect himself, and that would drop it down to a 2. Doesn't seem worth it, right? It seems almost impossible to affect JR. Now, I could theoretically have gained additional power by negotiating with people. I want these 2, though. I need 2 more things. I, too, am going to investigate Ray. That gives me a 7. I'm going to keep my power points. Everybody wants to know what Ray's got. I succeed. Ray gets his luck check. He succeeds again. All right. We'll be up on Ellie. I need to take a break. And I don't know how to mark, again, some of these things that I want to put down, right? Like, everybody has used their own ability, and that's it so far, right? Or did Pam use the local press? No, she grabbed the local government. Yeah, everybody's used their own abilities so far. But yeah, I mean, sure, I can write everything down. I can pull markers from other games. But I'm just not, I'm just not provided with enough tools in the box to keep track of all the information. And you're not provided with enough tools in terms of these chips. You don't get the chips either. So it was really like, a low effort in terms of what they gave out. I'm going to break for a little bit. I don't know how much more of this I can take, especially as it gets further on and, we get to this, where can deals actually be made? Well, that's hard to tell, That's really hard to tell. Now, at the very end of the game, after all the dice have been rolled and everything and nobody can impact you anymore, you're allowed to make deals. And that's the point where that's the only point where I feel like people are going to do a lot of horse trading. Because otherwise you're like, well, Cliff, do you really want Mothwell? How do you ask for something without revealing what your victory conditions are? At least to the people you're asking, right? Now, the people who have allies, they might manage to do stuff that helps those people to retain stuff, but it feels like the game mechanisms aren't that well designed to be able to enable the kind of play that you'd want in this. And this is what I always get with it, is I can play out the mechanisms, I can see the stuff starting to move, but I don't see how the game is going to play in a way that works. And, it's not like it's a role-playing game, right? It's not like, I don't care what they label it as. It really is a game where you've got specified victory conditions and mechanisms to get them, and the opportunity to negotiate, but the opportunity to negotiate comes with such a big negative on it in terms of revealing your secret victory conditions, that why would you trust someone, with revealing something? And that is, and I think I'm going to hang this up here, because I don't think there's much that I can gain insight-wise by continuing playing. Yeah. It was on my short list, but I was terrified of it, and this is why. I feel like there's simply not enough opportunity for the negotiations, because everything is fucking secret. So many cards are secret. I'd kind of like to get to the next scene, but I can show you how it would set up. First of all, I have to look for what shows up in scene 2 here. And that's going to be bribe of Justice Department official. If Cliff obtains news of this, he can open criminal proceedings against JR. Oh, we'd have that option there. And that'll have an investigation value of 17. And that'll be placed as one of these cards face down. But also, at the same time, the secret informer's face down. We look for that. No investigation value there. The director makes it up. The senator's press conference is face down. I believe that one also does not have an investigation value. And the bribe of the Justice Department official, which was what we covered up there. And when you find those things, it's not clear in the rules that you get them. That's been my assumption. But if I discover this, I don't get this, right? And if I discover a character out there who has ratings that I can attack, try to persuade or whatever, in whatever mechanism I want to use, I don't think I get them at that point. So it's like kind of weird, like plot devices, I think when you investigate them successfully from the middle of the table, you get them. I think in order to get a plot device from someone else, you have to A, know about it, what it is. So if I wanted the land grant, right, somebody would have to successfully investigate JR, find out that that's what that card is, write it down, remember it somehow, right? Again, more tracking that's like, there's no real mechanisms for recording it in game. You just have to write a lot of shit down. And then, you know, sort of I would have to do something to JR to get him to give it to me. And he really doesn't want to give it to me. So, you know, I could persuade him. JR, I hear you got a land grant. You'd really like to give that to me, right? I don't know, you know, even what's being represented there with the persuasion, you know. It's just, it's very, very, it just doesn't feel like the game holds together as an Illuminati type game, game mastered or whatever, which is what it feels like it's supposed to be. And it's absolutely not, like, the mechanisms and the way it's played are absolutely not your sort of standard role-playing type experience, where the players are interacting with one another kind of naturally and might end up giving up information accidentally. I have the feeling that the way the thing is designed so much that you're just going to be holding your cards so close to your vest that it's going to be very, very hard. And what does that mean? What it means is the really powerful characters are super powerful. And that may mean that the weaker characters, once they start to realize that, will get together and start colluding. But they may give up something that's important, you know? So, for example, the secret informant, well, a lot of people want it, right? A lot of people want it. Not the powerful people. And some of them are able to share, you know, through their allies and whatnot, but it just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it holds up. All right, I'm gonna drop. I'm gonna stop playing this because I don't feel like there's much I can learn playing it solo like this. The only thing I learned was I need to see this being played by real people, you know, to get an idea of how they might interact in a way that I'm not expecting. But gamers that I'm used to, yeah, they wouldn't say much. Well, the decent ones, there are the useful idiots out there. There are, and you know, maybe you need to have a few of them in the game, especially in the more powerful positions, so that they try to, like, they reveal too much in trying to cut deals or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, it just, there's like something of an interesting idea here, but I just don't feel like it went through development. Now, I went to SPI while they were playtesting this. They were all out for lunch. There was like one person at the counter, one teen at the counter. Like, actually, it took a while for him to even show up and find me. But then he gave us a tour of the office. I had my family with me, but and they actually had this kind of set up at a big board table. You know, they really looked like it belonged in from the set of Dallas. What they had, nice big comfy chair like mine, but you know, not out of the garbage. And then some smaller office chairs around there. So obviously, like, the big chair was the Dunnigan chair, I'd assume. But anyway, it was very little man for a big chair, though. I'd assume that, well, I only saw him when he was very old, so, and on TV. He did consulting and stuff. Uh, yeah, I don't know what to say. You know, it just it doesn't feel like it would work as a competitive game, and it's designed as a competitive game. I'll be back in a little bit. Dallas. All right. Back when I was young, I think I had a lot more tolerance for, for the idea that, hey, there might be something workable in here. I was definitely excited about this game in terms of, like, can I make it work? To the extent that, you know, I wrote my own scenario for it, right? Very, very silly scenario. But I made it a little bit clearer as to what I need to do in it. But I followed the kind of structure of the scenarios that the game itself uses. And I don't think it would work any better than they do. Because the core problems in this game are just there. The core problem of conflicting hidden victory conditions that players probably don't want to reveal, but many of the players may not be able to get their victory conditions without some sort of negotiation capability. But once they start revealing stuff, that stuff might go up for sale, essentially, and be more problematic. The whole victory point structure, it feels like for most of the players in the game, it's going to be very, very hard to get a win. To get your minimal requirements to get a victory. I think, again, these are just speculations because I could never get anybody to play it. But I think what would happen is that things that people seem to want are going to get taken away from them. Unlike a game like Illuminati, which goes on until somebody comes up with their victory conditions, right? This doesn't. This goes 6 scenes or whatever. It's this fixed limit there. I honestly just don't feel like the development work was made on it to make a workable competitive game. Nothing in what any projection that I make on how it would actually play out, etc., feels like it just wouldn't really work. And that's, you know, a real problem. And then what can you do to fix that? Well, the problem is the core mechanisms of the game, right? The core concept of the game. It just doesn't fit together and create something that works as a competitive game. Now, it would work better if there was maybe a knowledge that there was going to be less interplayer conflict, but it almost seems like it's designed so that, you know, nearly everyone is in competition with other players for control of some of the thingies that they want. There's a lot of gaps in the rules. I found in, you know, sparse as the rules are, I found a couple of places where they feel like they're direct contradictions. Now, you have a director or whatever who can make, you know, calls in these cases. No problem with that. But, yeah, it really doesn't feel like there's a workable game in here in terms of the competition side of things. As a role-playing game, it, you know, kind of defies the expectations of an RPG at this point. A role-playing game generally, sure, it gives you mechanisms to interact with other characters in the game and do stuff to them influence them, attack them, whatever. Most role-playing games that I've seen out there, first of all, don't put all the players in a direct competition. Are there some that do? Yeah. You can make arguments that, like Amber, when played right, gives players something of a competitive, of a competition with one another, when it's done right. I've certainly played at cons where the situation is set up so that, well, first of all, I've played at cons where the role-playing element is in a tournament-type style thing, where you're collecting points of some sort. The GM may be the only person who's aware of what those points are like, etc. But you have definite goals, and sometimes they might be set up so that you get points for role-playing quality, for damage done, for all kind of stuff like that. But sometimes, and these are really interesting, you're set up in a situation where you're playing a character who has direct conflicts with other characters in your party. And you sort of got two goals in mind, maybe. One may be the main goal for the entire mission, but one may also be something, that's a secret you're trying to keep hidden or whatever. I had one where I was playing a doppelganger who had infiltrated the party, and I had to start killing characters off, which was really kind of fucked up. So, you do have situations like that where it's possible to determine who won in a role-playing type situation. I think they're fairly rare and far between. Usually it's more of a cooperative type of situation where it's the players working against the storyline, although sometimes the players may have inherent conflicts built in. But this doesn't give you that kind of freedom. This gives you a structure and here are your victory conditions, in a way that just doesn't feel like an RPG at all. And everything about the game screams that it's more like an Illuminati type of game where you're you're fighting over resources that each of you want, that many of you want for victory. The difference between this and Illuminati is in Illuminati, you know what your opponent's victory conditions are, with one exception, with the base game. So you're not really... Everything's kind of out in the open as well. So you're actually competing over a known space. Here there's hidden information out there, and I just don't feel like the mechanisms are sufficient to handle what the game is trying to do. It almost, and they must have paid a fortune at the time for a little company like SPI or whatever to get rights to do Dallas. Now they didn't get exclusive rights because there was a board game as well, at least one, based on it, and I've seen some other things as well. It's kind of interesting. I watched one. I've run across two role-playing channels that have done videos on it. One was from 4 years ago or so, and is actually on Roleplay Geek. And I feel like he didn't understand the game at all. And is trying to deal with it as a role-playing game. And it really isn't. It really isn't. And then the other one, I haven't finished watching. He may have more insight, and so that's kind of cool in its own way, and probably it'll come up in the same in your feed if you're watching this. If not, maybe I'll put a link if I think he's particularly valuable. But yeah, I mean, this was really, at this point I have to say I think it's just a disappointment. I don't think that there's anything in this game that makes it worth trying to salvage. But at other times in my life, I really wanted to see if different player interaction would create something better than I think the game is. But you know, you're better off, if you want to play something of this nature, you're better off playing something like Rocky and Bullwinkle, which at least has cute puppets. No, it actually, you know, it's actually a playable game. I don't think this game has victory conditions and mechanisms that work together. And I think basically it was released kind of as we can't really get this to work. That's the only assumption I can make. I'd love to hear from anybody who's managed to play this and, you know, with a reasonable complement of players and get good results out of it. I have the feeling that they couldn't happen. You know, that it would just be this really horrible thing where everybody ends up losing at the end. I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Cheers.